From studios at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, this is Fourth and State. In this excerpt from an interview with Congressman Paul Ryan, he discusses the idea of background checks at gun shows.
So, are you okay with a gun show in Janesville selling guns to people
without a background check? Yeah, so that's an area I think we need to look into.
Are you okay?
No, I think we should look into is someone who is not legally allowed to buy a gun going to buying one, and let's figure that out. I think we need to find out how to close these loopholes and do it in such a way that we don't infringe upon people's Second Amendment rights. So where's that?
Into it.
Well, I don't know the answer to how to make this work. That's what committee hearings are about. That's what you don't react. You actually dig in and you figure it out. We had this issue 2001, 1999, I think, pop up. This popped up when I first got into Congress. And at the time, I remember thinking, you know, there is a loophole here, and I think we should address that. I remember thinking this back when, gosh, I think I talked to a guy named Bob Pucci, the guy who has those radio ads with the dog. Yeah, I haven't
explained this to him.
Yeah, so I remember talking to that guy. This is like 10, 12 years ago. Rocco, yeah, you hear him on the radio. You know, I remember talking to him about this. He's like, well, what, couldn't you run these things? And I don't know the guy, and I can't speak for him, but I remember thinking there is an area in which you can make this work. So those things, to me, reasonable dialogue can occur and should occur, and let's figure out how to do that. Now, I think there are other areas, you know, where you don't want to recycle failed policies of the past, like an assault weapons ban. That, to me, didn't stop gun violence. I don't see that as an effective tool, and so I think we don't want to let a moment like this pass where we look at these deeper issues that you talked about, because I think that's the core of it. Let's not forget the core and just go to the cosmetics.
It sounds like what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing to look at.
The specific question is, can you close a loophole that at least requires any weapons sold in a gun show?
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable. I think that's a very reasonable problem. I think that's obvious, and I think we should look into how to do that.
The extended clips.
I see that as more of a cosmetic thing. I don't see the effectiveness of that. I won't get into how this works, and you know, I obviously am very familiar with
guns than we.
Yeah, I have a lot of guns. I'm a big hunter. I've been shooting guns since I was a kid. I'm very familiar with how these weapons operate, with how semi-automatics operate. I think you're getting to the point where you're making changes in law that won't make a difference, and you're compromising people's Second Amendment rights.
So why is it that you think an assault weapons ban wouldn't work? Explain that.
What didn't last time we did it? And more importantly, there are legitimate reasons for citizens to own these weapons, whether it's for hunting, and people do use these for hunting, whether it's for target shooting or self-defense. You know, there are legitimate reasons for people owning these guns.
But when you look at the recent school shootings and the theater shooting and things like that, doesn't that give you time to pause and say, well,
we got 310 million guns in this country? You really think we're gonna
understand that, but you know,
stop these guns from
going in there with a 22 and just said pop, pop, pop. He went in there with his, you know, with an assault weapon. So doesn't that give you any kind of reason to say, wait a second, it didn't work last time because of X? We
still had Columbine during that time. The point I'm saying is, why did the kid do that? What's wrong with our culture, or what's wrong with our system where a person who's clearly mentally ill missed all the checks to get him the help he needed to prevent that from happening?